Welcome everyone to Mr. Farwell. Why would the most powerful man on Earth choose to live as a simple farm boy in Kansas? Why not become a king, a god, something untouchable? And yet, he doesn't. He chooses a quiet life, a human life, not a distant savior, but someone who helps his neighbors, who doubts, who loves, who suffers. Because the story of Clark Kent was never really about the cape. It was about the heart. For an entire generation, that story began with Smallville. 10 years of watching a boy grow up, not learning how to fly, but learning how to belong, learning how to control himself, how to trust others, how to live with the weight of being different. And now, with a new Superman on the horizon under James Gunn, that same question returns. Can the world still believe in someone who chooses to be good? No tights, no flights, a simple rule, but one that defined an entire era. Because Smallville was never truly about Superman. It was about becoming him, or more importantly, becoming human. Over 10 seasons, we didn't just watch Clark win, we watched him struggle. We watched him make mistakes, hurt people he loved, lose those he couldn't save. And that's what made him real. Clark had the power of a god, but he had to learn restraint. He had to learn that strength is not about dominance, but about control. Not about force, but about compassion. And at the center of that journey were Jonathan and Martha Kent. No Kryptonian science, no advanced technology, just two parents raising a boy with values. Jonathan taught him responsibility, that every action has consequences. Martha taught him empathy, that kindness is never weakness. They didn't raise Superman, they raised Clark. And that difference is everything. Because the greatest lesson Clark learned was not how to save the world, but when to save it. And why it matters. Because saving someone isn't just about power, it's about understanding the value of a life. Clark didn't become human by accident. He chose it again and again, even when it hurt, even when it cost him everything. Now we move into a new era. James Gunn has made something very clear. His Superman will not just be powerful, he will be kind. And in today's world, that might be the boldest choice of all, because we live in a time where cynicism is normal, where people expect the worst, where kindness is often mistaken for weakness. But Superman was never meant to reflect the world as it is. He was meant to remind us what it could be. A man who believes, not because he is naive, but because he chooses to believe, even when it's hard, even when people disappoint him, even when the world gives him every reason not to. That choice is what defines him. The idea of legacy goes beyond visuals. It's emotional. It feels like a continuation of something that Smallville started years ago. Because Superman is not interesting because of what he can do, but because of what he refuses to do. He refuses to dominate, refuses to impose, refuses to give up on people. If Smallville was the emotional foundation, then this new Superman could be the evolution, a version of Clark who fully understands who he is, not a god above humanity, but part of it, a man who could have ruled everything and chose not to. And in the end, this story isn't really about aliens, it's about us, because everyone at some point feels different, out of place, like they don't fully belong, like there's something inside them that no one else understands. That's our alien, that feeling of being disconnected. But Clark Kent teaches us something powerful. Our strength does not come from what makes us different. It comes from what we choose to do with it. We can isolate ourselves, or we can connect. We can become cold, or we can choose kindness. Because it takes more strength to be kind than to be powerful. Anyone can dominate. Anyone can impose. But choosing empathy, choosing patience, choosing to care even when it's difficult, that's real strength. And maybe that's why Superman still matters. Not because he can lift buildings, but because he lifts people. So here's the question. Do you prefer Clark, the farm boy from Kansas, or Superman, the cosmic symbol of hope? Maybe the truth is we need both. One reminds us where we come from, and the other reminds us who we can become. But never forget, before the symbol, before the cape, before the flight, there was just a boy who chose to be human. And maybe that's the most powerful choice of all. If you enjoy deep character analysis like this, make sure to subscribe, because here, we don't just talk about superheroes, we talk about what makes us human.
Your abilities may be of my blood, but it is your time in Smallville, with Jonathan and Martha Kent and all the people there, that made you a hero, Colin.